All right, welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're diving into Christopher Clark's incredible history, The Sleepwalkers, to tackle a really chilling question. How in the world did the leaders of Europe, with all their power and intelligence, stumble straight into the absolute catastrophe of World War I?
Right off the bat, this isn't a story about clear-cut villains. As Clark puts it, they were sleepwalkers, totally blind to the nightmare they were about to create. These were confident, powerful people, and yet they led their countries into a war that would kill 20 million people. The question that just hangs over everything is, how did they not see it coming?
But before we can even get to the first shot fired, we have to deal with a massive, massive problem. For anyone trying to figure out what really happened, the origins of World War I are a total historian's nightmare.
I mean, just look at the scale of this. It's not a lack of evidence, it's the exact opposite. It's a complete tidal wave of information. We're talking tens of thousands of official documents, over 25,000 books and articles. It's an ocean of data so big that you could find support for almost any theory you want. How do you find the single truth in all that noise?
And believe it or not, it gets even worse. Those official archives, they weren't published to help historians find the truth. Nope, they were political weapons. After the Treaty of Versailles put all the blame on Germany, every country scrambled to publish documents to prove they were innocent. They were building a legal case, not an objective history.
So you might think, okay, forget the official stuff. Let's look at the personal memoirs of the leaders. But they're just as bad. You read them and find all these convenient memory lapses and stories that make them look good. These weren't honest accounts. They were all about managing their own reputations.
And then you have the actual black holes in the record. The most important conversations, a lot of them were never even written down. Key documents intentionally thrown into the fire. Entire archives from really crucial meetings have just vanished. Poof. Some of the biggest pieces of the puzzle are just gone, lost forever.
So, where do we even begin? To understand this massive global fire, we've got to go back to the very first spark. And for that, we need to zoom way in, to the small, incredibly volatile nation where that spark was lit, Serbia.
You see, our story doesn't really kick off in 1914. To get what's going on, we have to rewind 11 years, to a shockingly brutal murder in a palace in Belgrade. It's a coup that rips the mask off and shows us the violent, unstable core of Serbian politics.
To really get Serbia in 1903, you have to know about its history of bloody feuds. For decades, two rival families, the Obrenovićes and the Karađorđevićes, had been literally assassinating each other for the throne. By 1900, the king, Alexander Obrenović, made a huge mistake. He married his mistress, Draga Mašin, who nobody liked, and in doing so, he made an enemy of the one group you never want to cross, your own military. For 2 years, a secret plot had been bubbling away among army officers. Their leader was a ruthless captain nicknamed Apis, the Bull. Then, on June 11, 1903, in the dead of night, they blew the palace gates open with dynamite and swarmed inside.
For 2 terrifying hours, the officers are just tearing through the pitch-black palace, shooting into closets, behind curtains, looking everywhere. The king and queen were hiding in a secret little room behind their bedroom wall, but eventually, they were found.
The king and queen were shot. And then, in just a frenzy of violence, they were hacked at with swords and axes until they were completely unrecognizable. And to make sure everyone knew the job was done, the plotters hurled their bodies from a balcony into the garden. And what's just wild is the reaction in Belgrade. Not horror, celebration. The next day was declared a national holiday.
Now, on the surface, this coup brings in a new king and a democratic constitution. Seems like progress, right? Well, not exactly. It also created a really dangerous new problem. The murderers were now heroes, and that sent a powerful message. Political violence is a totally legitimate, even heroic, way to get what you want. This created a shadow power that the official government just couldn't control.
So what you end up with is a nation with 2 governments, basically. On one side, you've got the official state, led by Prime Minister Nikola Pašic. They're trying to do the whole democracy and diplomacy thing. But on the other side, operating in the shadows, you've got the king killers, led by Apis. This is a secret network inside the military that answers to nobody and is driven by this extreme, violent nationalism.
Now, this kind of fragile, two-faced system was never going to last. It all came crashing down just a few years later, when a crisis from the outside pushed this secret military network into even more extreme territory.
The breaking point hits in 1908.
Austria-Hungary goes and formally annexes Bosnia, which Serbian nationalists consider their heartland. People flood the streets in protest, but in the end, the Serbian government is totally powerless and is forced to publicly accept it. This national humiliation was the last straw. For Opus' network, it was proof that the government was too weak. They decided it was time to take matters into their own hands.
So in 1911, Apis and his circle create a new secret society. Its official name was Unification or Death, but we know it by a much scarier name, the Black Hand. Their goal was simple, to create a greater Serbia, and their methods were just as simple, any means necessary, and that absolutely included terrorism.
New members were brought in with this absolutely chilling oath, swearing total loyalty until death. They saw themselves as the real patriots and viewed the actual government as traitors to the cause. And with this secret group dedicated to political violence, now operating right at the heart of the state, the fuse in the Balkans was officially lit. All it needed now was a spark.